Thank you so much for downloading the information about this year's second annual International SiblingsToo Day with the theme What Society Needs to Know and Do About Sibling Sexual Abuse. I'm Nancy Morris. I'm the host and producer of this program. I'm also the founder of the SiblingsToo project, the SiblingsToo podcast, the SiblingsToo hashtag, and I also do research on the narratives of families involved with sibling sexual abuse. So, why this theme this year? Last year's theme was what every parent needs to know about sibling sexual abuse, and now we're talking about what society needs to know. So it became exceedingly clear to me over the last year that one of the biggest challenges in moving the conversation about sibling sexual abuse forward is the stigma that's associated with it. In other issues, there's usually a villain that we can point to, whether or not it's the Catholic Church when we're talking about abuse in the church, or whether or not it's an individual if we're talking about, say, abuse in a sports team. But when it comes to sibling sexual abuse, there is no villain. Well, that's not quite right. There is. It's societal stigma. Societal stigma is a significant contributing factor to some of the things that make it difficult for the conversation of sibling sexual abuse to move forward. And when that conversation does have an opportunity to move forward, we're more likely to see, for example, political will to add funding for research and interventions for those impacted by sibling sexual abuse. We're also more likely to see those who have harmed more willing to step forward so that they can be part of the conversation so that we can understand more about the contributing factors that lead to sibling sexual abuse. That's a really important awareness that we don't yet have, not as much as we need to in order to move this conversation forward. So why is this even important? Well, we will agree that research is lacking in this area. However, the research that has been done shows that sibling sexual abuse is at least 3 times more prevalent than parent-to-child sexual abuse. It's also likely to be happening between 2 and 5% of the children in your community. That's a big number. When you actually do the math, that's a huge number. So this conversation is really important. And the adults in the room, i.e. society and parents and community leaders and all the rest, need to be having this dialogue. So the theme again of this year's SiblingsToo Day is what society needs to know and do about sibling sexual abuse. Once again, I've been joined by a host of international experts, lived experience experts, professionals, and academics who are coming together to discuss the various topics related to sibling sexual abuse in a way to support the education, to remove the fear and lack of understanding in society about sibling sexual abuse. I've just been so blessed to have such an array of experts and those who want to share their stories, whether it's the survivors or the researchers who are uncovering important information. They have given generously of their time. And I want to thank them all specifically because without them, this wouldn't be possible. And also, you know what? Without you, this day wouldn't be possible. The number of downloads of the videos last year, both on YouTube and other channels that they were put into, has been really overwhelming in that it's clear that people want to know more about this subject, whether those people are parents and families, the person who was harmed, the person who has harmed, professionals, and those who work with families affected by sibling sexual abuse, and also society generally. Those who have no immediate need to have this awareness are actually looking for more information. And that's what today is all about. In a moment, I'm going to dive into the resources pack and just show you how to use it, to leverage it for your best information. But I also want to thank those who aren't going to be on camera, those people who have encouraged me to keep going, because this is a difficult project to do, as I'm sure you can imagine. Those people who have donated some money to help pay for the expenses of putting such an event together. And those people who are just sending messages and being supportive. The amount of support that I get both directly and indirectly is amazing. And I can't thank those people enough. So there's a group of people on camera, but there's also a big group of people off camera. And it is the combination of those two groups that make this Siblings Day a possibility. So thank you to everyone. So let's dive into the resources pack. You will have received by now an email with a link to this resources pack. And the information that is included here will help you to navigate the various videos and resources that are available to you. So let's just quickly run through what the resources pack is all about and how you can make the best use of it. A little explanation here about the hashtag. I've often been asked about why have I got a hashtag SiblingsToo. So just a little explanation there for your information. Then we dive straight into the video library, the various videos that, again, have been created by the generosity of the lived experience experts, the professionals and academics who have an interest in sibling sexual abuse and an abundance of experience and expertise. So here we go. We've got the various videos. Now, they are laid out in an order that may make sense to watch them in, but obviously you can jump around and go to the videos in any order that you see fit. That will help you to uncover the information that is important to you. The live YouTube links are here in your PDF file, so all you need to do is simply click that link and you will be taken straight to the YouTube channel and the specific video that you're looking for. The subject matters that we're covering are pretty vast. So we're looking at things like the impacts of sibling sexual abuse, not only on the children involved, but other siblings in the household, what's known as non-abused, non-abuser siblings, as well as the wider community, which is also impacted by sibling sexual abuse. We're starting with looking at myths and misinformation, because there are many, many myths associated with sibling sexual abuse. This particular video was broadcast last year, and the information remains relevant, and so we're going to, again, use that. Over the last few months, more information has been made available about what is considered the spectrum of behaviors as it relates to sibling sexual abuse, but there's also some language problems. What terms do we use? Is it abuse? Is it trauma? Is it, are people survivors and perpetrators, or people who caused harm and who were harmed? These sorts of things, this particular discussion dives deep into those. Paula Lobos in Chile shares her expertise in a three-dimensional model of the context of responsibility for the person who caused harm. A very interesting conversation about how society, the family, and the individual come together in this three-dimensional way as it relates to sibling sexual abuse, both in, some of the causal factors or some of the reasons it occurs. So therefore, those are still some of the reasons why it's possible to prevent sibling sexual abuse, but also that three dimensions of intervention are super important as well. So impact on the family, impact on other siblings, and impact on the community, on society. It is actually an issue that, through things like teen homelessness, teen suicide, anxiety and depression, PTSD, self-harm, drugs and alcohol addiction, all of these sorts of things come to every doorstep in our communities. That's why sibling sexual abuse is not a family matter. It is a community and society matter. This particular discussion about sex education, why isn't sibling sexual abuse talked about in sex education, is an amazing conversation with international experts on this subject. Also, we know that sibling sexual abuse is an impactful situation and causes great harm. But there's also great hope through things like restorative practice and post-traumatic growth interventions. And also we need to dive a little deeper into the stigma that's associated with sibling sexual abuse and society's role in minimizing that stigma. You see, when the stigma is reduced, then it's more likely that we're going to create the political will for funding and research and interventions and preventions, it's more likely that those people who are involved will be able to find what it is that they need, and either to not display the behavior to begin with, or to get support when they have, and to get support when the family has been impacted by it. I can't emphasize enough the importance of understanding this topic deeper. Also, I've had the pleasure of, again, hanging out with my adult survivor friends. And this year's conversation was just amazing around, again, around stigma and what survivors and families need from society. As a societal issue, sibling sexual abuse needs to be looked at through that lens. And who better to hear from than lived experience experts? Now, activism, a huge subject. And I had the pleasure of speaking with Professor Winifred Lewis about this topic. And it helps when we each are educated on what activism really means and what it's all about. And Winifred, who is an expert in this topic, gave of her time to share that information for your benefit so that you can understand more. And I recently had the pleasure of hosting Sophie King-Hill, David Russell, and Kieran McCartan here in Canada, in my hometown. They came to discuss some research with me and also some other professionals and academics in my area. And we sat down in studio for a conversation about where we would all like to see this conversation about sibling sexual abuse be in 5 years' time. So that's a great audio only file for you to enjoy. And also a handful of resources, both mentioned and not mentioned in this year's SiblingsToo Day. Some additional places where you can go get information, including the SiblingsToo.com website, SiblingSexualTrauma.com, which has a huge range of resources and information, sarsas.org.uk, that, of course, was the sort of the linchpin or touch point for the research that took place in 2020 around the prevalence of sibling sexual abuse, and sort of sparked a lot of these conversations. And in the United States, the National Center on the Sexual Behavior of Youth, again, packed with resources and information about the reality of our youth, children and young people are sexual beings, and the importance of understanding that, again, can't be emphasized. Last year, I provided a checklist for parents, and it was very, very popular. So I'm including it again in this year's event so that you yourself, as either just a person who is interested in this subject, or a parent, or the friend of a parent, or whomever, can sit down and go through some of these things and just sort of check in with yourself and see where you are in this measure. A wonderful little resource that was really popular last year. And then, of course, the details about all the speakers. I believe there's 24 of them this year who have graciously donated again their time and energy to making this event possible for you. And for those who want more information about sibling sexual abuse, again, it is something that impacts every family in one way or another, whether it's through your tax dollars that pay for some of the interventions and research and everything else, or because someone in your family, direct family or extended family, has been impacted by sibling sexual abuse, or perhaps it's happened in your immediate family. You can't go too far, given the statistics that we have at the moment. You can't go too far without meeting somebody who was impacted in one way, shape, or form by sibling sexual abuse. And so again, all of these people are contributing their expertise. If you run into any trouble with watching any of the videos, the resource packs just, has a little quick Q&A on how to manage that. And then, of course, my gratitude to everybody who has contributed to creating the SiblingsToo Day this year, and also to you, the interested person who wants to know more. For whatever reason that you want to know more, I am grateful that you have joined the community of people interested in understanding sibling sexual abuse. Thank you.